Harley Davidson couldn't sell into India. There was a 200% tariff on a motorcycle.
Trump just destroyed Harley Davidson after India slapped a 200% tariff on their bikes, forcing the company to build plants overseas instead of standing tall at home. Trump roasted them as traitors, tearing into their global pivots and failed electric dreams, calling it all a betrayal of loyal riders. And now, Harley faces bankruptcy. Harley Davidson managed to sell out its own people faster than you can rev an engine. And of course, Trump had a front row seat to call them out. He didn't just mention them in passing, he dragged them up as the prime example of what unfair global trade looks like. And honestly, he wasn't wrong. You see, India slapped a 200% tariff on Harley Davidson motorcycles. Yeah, you heard that right, 200%. You buy a Harley in America, ship it to India, and boom, double the price before it even hits the road. And it wasn't just random mopeds. We're talking about motorcycles with engines above 350 cubic centimeters. That's Harley territory. That's the bread and butter of their whole image. And because of that, Harley basically had no chance of competing there. Now here's the part that makes this whole thing look like a joke. While India was busy flooding US markets with their goods, basically tariff-free, Harley was stuck paying sky-high costs just to exist in India. One-sided doesn't even begin to describe it. Trump said it straight. India pours everything they make into our country without a problem. But when it's time for us to sell something back, suddenly it's pay up or shut up. And guess what Harley did? Instead of standing their ground, instead of fighting for their American base, Harley built a plant in India. Yeah, because clearly the best way to deal with unfair tariffs is to pack your bags and set up shop right in the country that's ripping you off. Makes total sense, right? Wrong. That was the betrayal moment. That's when Harley showed they'd rather run overseas than stay loyal to the riders who kept them alive for more than a century. And Trump didn't just see this as an economic blunder. He framed it as a cultural and patriotic disaster. Because let's face it, Harley has always sold itself as more than just a bike. It's supposed to be freedom on two wheels, the sound of America roaring down a highway. But when you start outsourcing that roar to India, or anywhere else for that matter, you're not selling freedom anymore. You're selling excuses. And that's exactly what Trump hammered them for, abandoning loyal American riders just to dodge some tariffs. Now, let's talk about why Trump's fury wasn't just about a few numbers on a spreadsheet. He went further and basically accused India of having the highest tariffs in the world. Not one of the highest. Not top 5, the highest. And he wasn't exaggerating. That 200% tariff on Harley bikes wasn't just big, it was literally the number one globally. You could almost hear the disbelief in his voice when he said it. But here's where it gets hilarious. Instead of using that as leverage to stand tall in America, Harley folded. They couldn't sell bikes into India without building locally, so that's exactly what they did. And with that move, American jobs and production shifted overseas, while Harley pretended like it was just good business. Meanwhile, Trump was out here pointing out that thousands of companies were doing the opposite. He bragged about car companies from China, Mexico, and Canada rushing to build factories in the US. Why? Because tariffs made it smarter to be here. Companies were literally stampeding into America, putting up plants left and right. And Harley? Harley decided, nah, let's keep expanding abroad. Instead of returning to US soil like everyone else, Harley went all in on running from the problem. And that made them the odd one out, a perfect punching bag for Trump's anger. Now, if you thought that was the peak of stupidity, buckle up, because Harley's global gamble just makes the whole thing look even worse. Back in 2018, during Trump's steel and aluminum tariff war, Harley had a big choice to make. Stand strong at home or play hide and seek with production lines around the world. Guess which option they picked? They closed their Kansas City plant. Yep, shut it down, sent American jobs packing, and then turned around and expanded in Thailand, Brazil, and India. You couldn't script a bigger betrayal if you tried. Imagine being a worker in Kansas City, watching your factory close, only to see Harley open shiny new facilities overseas. The slap in the face is unreal. And the worst part? The Thailand factory wasn't even about making Harley better. It was just a loophole move. They set it up to bypass EU retaliatory tariffs. Basically, instead of fighting for their people, Harley played international dodgeball to save a few bucks. And you know who noticed? Everyone. US workers, bikers, and of course, Trump himself. The outrage was massive, and rightfully so. Trump didn't mince words either. He straight up warned Harley, leave the US, and the aura will be gone. And he wasn't wrong. That aura, that myth of Harley as the king of American roads, started evaporating the second people realized the company would rather operate in Bangkok than Milwaukee. Trump even threatened to slap new taxes on Harley if they dared sell foreign-built bikes back into America. And honestly, he had a point. You can't market yourself as the ultimate American icon while your bikes are rolling off assembly lines halfway across the globe. But here's the part that really cooked Harley's reputation. Customers found out that Thai-assembled bikes weren't just being shipped overseas. Oh no, they were being sold right here in the US too? Imagine spending tens of thousands of dollars thinking you're buying into American muscle, only to find out your so-called Harley was pieced together in Thailand. That discovery hit harder than any tariff could. The backlash was brutal. Bikers who spent their lives swearing by Harley suddenly felt like they'd been scammed. And let's not sugarcoat it. Harley was once the symbol of Milwaukee steel, the pride of American roads, the company that survived wars, recessions, and Japanese competition in the 1980s. But when they chose to dodge tariffs by running overseas, they destroyed their own mythology. And Trump just poured gasoline on the fire, calling them out every chance he got. So, what do we have? A company that sold its soul to avoid tariffs. A brand that abandoned Kansas City for Thailand. A legacy that got traded in for a factory in India. And Trump, standing there with the receipts, roasting Harley Davidson as the perfect example of what happens when you forget who you are. If Harley thought they could quietly betray their American roots and nobody would notice, they were dead wrong. Because not only did people notice, they never forgave. Harley Davidson wasn't just a motorcycle brand. Back in 1903, it was practically America on two wheels. It was rebellion, it was muscle, it was the bald eagle soaring over Route 66, with the sound of chrome thunder underneath. But somewhere along the line, they decided to swap that roar for a little Made in Thailand sticker. And let me tell you, nothing screams betrayal louder than outsourcing the very thing you built your identity on. Harley spent decades selling people on the dream of freedom and American craftsmanship, only to turn around and slap foreign labels on their bikes. That's not innovation, that's brand suicide. Trump didn't waste any time turning that into a rallying cry. He painted Harley as straight-up traitors to their own biker base. Not competitors, not mismanaged executives, traitors. He made it sound like Harley Davidson took a knife to the back of every leather jacket-wearing, chrome-loving patriot that ever rode one of their bikes. And honestly, that's exactly what it looked like. Instead of standing with their loyal riders, Harley chose cheap labor and tax write-offs. It's like your favorite hometown hero suddenly selling tickets to play for the other team. And if you were one of those riders who poured your money, your pride, and your entire lifestyle into Harley, how do you not feel betrayed? And it only got worse when Harley started messing with electric bikes and sustainability pivots. Let's be real here. Nobody wearing a "live to ride, ride to live" tattoo was asking for a quiet, eco-friendly Harley that hums like a dentist's drill. Veterans, factory workers, bikers at Sturgis rallies, they wanted American muscle. They wanted power, not plugs. But Harley thought they could pivot to electric scooters and global ESG scorecards like they were the next Tesla. Their customer base didn't buy it. The roar of rebellion doesn't exactly translate into a silent EV that needs a charging station at every gas stop. Trump saw the opening and went straight for the jugular. He turned Harley into a political football, tying their global shift and green experiments to everything he calls a woke corporate disaster. Suddenly, Harley wasn't just about motorcycles anymore. They were being lumped in with oat milk lattes, rainbow ESG dashboards, and the corporate elites Trump loves to roast. Half their own customer base felt like their dad's Harley had been hijacked by Silicon Valley interns with vegan leather seats. And once that narrative stuck, good luck reversing it. Now let's talk about the financial bloodbath that followed. Because when Trump calls you out, it doesn't just sting your ego, it crushes your stock. After his public call-outs and angry tweets, Harley's stock price tanked like a stone. Investors weren't just nervous, they were panicking. This wasn't about a bad quarter anymore. It was about a brand losing its soul in real time. And Wall Street doesn't exactly like betting on soulless companies pretending to be cultural icons. What makes this even more embarrassing for Harley is that they'd been in trouble before. In the 1980s, Japanese imports were eating their lunch. Honda and Yamaha were undercutting them with cheaper, faster bikes. And you know what saved Harley back then? Tariffs. The US government slapped tariffs on Japanese imports, Harley doubled down on American craftsmanship, and boom, they clawed their way back. That was a redemption story. But fast forward to 2025, and what do we see? Instead of using tariffs as a lifeline, Harley finds itself sinking even deeper because Trump's attacks didn't save them, they accelerated their collapse. And then there's the electric nonsense. Harley thought they could win Gen Z with EVs that had synthetic engine sounds. Fake roars. They actually tried to engineer fake Harley noises into their speakers, as if a biker was going to believe rebellion comes out of Bluetooth. Customers mocked them relentlessly, calling them toothbrush bikes. Imagine dropping 30 grand for a machine that sounds like Oral-B on wheels. And while Harley was chasing that imaginary younger crowd, they managed to alienate the older riders who actually had the money and loyalty to keep them alive. That's not strategy, that's marketing suicide. So here we are, with bankruptcy rumors swirling around Harley like vultures. Analysts say the company is walking a tightrope between tradition and innovation, and the rope is fraying fast. On one side, you've got the old school riders who want Milwaukee muscle and Chrome Thunder. On the other, you've got corporate execs trying to sell EVs to kids who can't even afford rent. And in the middle, Harley's brand is collapsing under the weight of its own confusion. Neither side is buying in, and the company looks like it's seconds away from falling into the pit.